Hi everyone, welcome back to XCA. This is the second part of the Building AI Expense Tracker SwiftUI App series. In this video, we're going to add AI assistant capability to our app, where our users can basically chat with the large language model GPT-4o to create, query, and visualize their expenses. The app supports text and voice chat interactions. It uses GPT-4o model, the latest one, with Function Calling API for integrating custom functions that the model can call during the interactions. This allows the models to perform functions provided by our app. Let me show you a quick demo of AI capabilities that we will build in this video tutorial. So here I have the app runs on my iPhone simulator as well as native macOS app. So here, the macOS, I can select this AI Assistant from the navigation split view. And on iPhone 15 Pro simulator, I can select this AI Assistant from the tab bar. So we have two interactions, text and voice. Let me show you using text on iPhone first. Okay, let's try to prompt, create me an expense for $3,000 MacBook Pro M4 Max yesterday. Okay, under office supplies category. Okay, so provide several parameter in here. Let's see. Okay, please select the confirm button before I add it to your expense list. So we need to confirm. And let's verify the name of the item, MacBook Pro M4 Max. So this is the icon for the office supplies, and the date is 8th June. So today is 9th June where I recording this, and the amount is 3,000. That is correct. Currency is USD. Okay, let me try to confirm. First, let me select this expense in macOS. So when I confirm, it should be added to the expense list in real time on macOS as well. Confirm. Sure, I've added this log to your expense list. Okay, there you go. MacBook Pro M4 Max 3000 USD. Nice. As you can see as well in here, MacBook Pro M4 Max. Okay, now let's try to query again another function. Visualize my expenses for past 3 months. Okay, let's see. Sure, here's the visualization of your expenses for each category. So it's rendered using pie chart. Okay, nice. Now let me switch to the Mac OS app to demo you the voice interaction. Okay, let's switch the window in here. So AI Assistant, let me select voice. So let's try. List all expenses for past 2 months.
Sure, here's the list of your expenses with total sum of USD 23.066.
Okay, so this is all my expenses for these past 3 months. Oh, this is nice. Oh, 2 months, not 3 months. Looks good, as you can see. We can also tell from the model to list only for a specific category. Let's see. And list all expenses for the past 3 months under the food category.
Sure, here is the list of your expenses with total sum of USD 1.344.
Nice. So this is all the expenses under food category for the past 3 months. Okay, and finally, visualize my expenses for past 6 months using bar chart.
Sure, here is the visualization of your expenses for each category.
Wow, this is amazing. It is rendered using the bar chart. Okay, so this is it, the AI capabilities that we will be adding in this video tutorial. Now let me show you all of these completed application in the beginning. Before we begin to code, if you followed me to code along from the first part of this series, you just can continue using that project. If you haven't, you can download the starter project from the GitHub link that I've provided at the description. So here is the GitHub link for the starter project. Make sure you select the starter part 2 tag. Okay, and just basically select HTTPS or download this to your local machine. Okay. You will also need the OpenAI API key with access to GPT-4 or GPT-4o models. I haven't tested this using the GPT-3.5 model, so I cannot guarantee the output when you use GPT 3.5. Okay, so you can sign up for the OpenAI API key from the link I have provided in the description below. It's from the OpenAI website. Okay, now let's begin and start code. I've downloaded the starter project to my local machine. Now let's begin the first task by adding the SPM dependency for integrating ChatGPT UI to our application. So here, select this AI Expense Tracker project and select this project and select this package dependency. Okay, here, click the plus button. So basically, we are going to use this ChatGPTUI SPM library. So I created this library where you can basically use this to integrate text and voice chat using ChatGPT with just one line. So if you can see in here, it's very simple. You just need to initialize passing the API key like so. Okay. It also supports the voice chat view, as you can see in here. So we can also pass additional parameters for customization, such as the sender image. So this supports the asset image name or the HTTP URL. And we can also pass the model GPT-4o if you have access, GPT-4o or GPT-3.5. Okay. We can also provide the base system text, you're a master of Swift programming, the temperature of the model is as well. Okay, so these are all the instruction on how to use this. So basically we need to just copy this SPM URL in here for integration, and in here just paste this and then add the package. Okay, so here make sure the add to target is selected to the AI expense tracker target and click add package. Okay, it has been added to our AI expense tracker target. Now before we can use this, we need to add the microphone privacy usage description because we want to also have the voice interaction, right? Okay, so if you're not planning to use the voice interaction, you can simply ignore this, but for this we're going to add the voice interaction, so we need to add a key in here. So privacy microphone usage description. Okay, we need to provide the value. Let's just provide talk with AI assistant. Okay, and for Mac OS we need to go to this setting capabilities and we need to add additional capability to the app sandbox for Mac OS. So here, make sure we check this hardware audio input. Okay, and yeah, it will automatically also check this source access audio input. So now we can also record the voice, the user voice for the voice chat in Mac OS application. Now let's begin integrating this to our application. So here at the root of the folder, just create a new folder, give it a name of AI Assistant. Okay, and inside this AI Assistant, create a new folder first. Okay, subfolder views, and create a new view, SwiftUI view. Select, give it a name of AI Assistant View. Okay, and in here we need to import the ChatGPT UI library, and here let's declare the API key as the global constant. Okay, let me copy this and paste my API key. Okay, so grab your API key from OpenAI website. Okay, and provide it here. So inside this AI assistant view, first I want to create an enum. Okay, I'm going to give it a name chat type. It should be string, identifiable, and case iterable. We want to put this as a choice for the segmented control, and text and case voice is also proper of value of voice, and for ID it's going to be self. Okay, we have the chat type. Now let's implement the view. So basically here in the AIAssistantView, we're going to have this stat var, which is the chat type with the initial value of text case. Okay, and then in here, let's declare a fee stack. Okay, let's add a spacing of 0. So inside the fee stack, let's declare a picker. Okay, inside the picker, let's pass the binding of the chat type for the selection, and for the label, let's pass a text of chat type. Okay, and set the font to system size of 12 and width of bold. Okay, so we have that. We need to provide the view inside the picker. In here, we're going to use for each passing the chat type, all cases, and basically in here, the view provider, we simply declare text to render the chat type for user to select using the raw value, and let's pass the tag as type for the user to select and bind it to the chat type state. Okay, now let's also set the picker style, segmented picker style. Okay, and set the padding as add a horizontal padding. And now for the iOS, we're going to also add a additional padding vertical only for iOS target, and let's add a divider. Okay, now below the divider, let's add a Z-stack. Let's add a frame. I'm going to set the max width of this to be 1024 with the alignment of center. So when it is used in macOS with a widescreen, it's not getting very wide. We limit the max width to be 1024. Okay, and now we can switch the chat type state. In case of text, basically we're going to simply declare this ChatGPTUI view built-in text chat view. In here, let's just pass the API key. We don't need to customize any other parameters, but you can if you want. Okay, first chat view API key. Let's also pass the API key. Okay, so if you want, you can provide your image as well in here. Let me provide my image. Okay, let me this. So in here, I can customize this, so it shows the icon. It's under image, bot image. Okay, here as so for the first chat view, we don't have that icon to be rendered. Okay, only for the text chat view. Now let's see here the fee stack. Let's check. So let's add a macro right in here. If not OS, Mac OS. So if the OS is not Mac OS, we're going to add a navigation bar title, XAII Expense Assistant display mode. Let's just use inline. Okay, and let's if. Okay, now let's try this AIAssistantView, but before that we need to basically declare this in the content view. Okay, so here the content view, for the tab view, we need to replace this placeholder with the AIAssistantView. Okay, also in the split view in here, this text AIAssistant placeholder that we cleared in the first part, let's replace this to AIAssistantView as well. Okay, now let's test this. Let me just use my macOS for the scheme. Okay, so let's build and run this on macOS. Build succeeded. Okay, let me resize the debugger console. Okay, let me move this in here. So let me move the window from my second display to display it in the here recording. So here it is, the app and this AI assistant. So let's select this. Okay, we have this now. Looks like I made a mistake in here. So actually in here, if the OS is not iOS, okay, only if the OS is not iOS, I'm going to add a vertical padding. Okay, looks good now. So let's try to prompt. So as you can see, my image is being rendered here because I passed the sender image containing the URL to my image. Okay, let's try to ask, hello. Hello, how I can assist you today? Nice one. Okay, so we can have a conversation with ChatGPT, but right now we still doesn't have the function calling ability. This is just a normal ChatGPT conversation. Voice as well. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hello. I'm just a computer program, so I don't have feelings. But I'm
Nice.
here and ready to help you with whatever you need.
Wow.
How can I assist you today?
This is good. Okay, so the ChatGPT UI works. Let's just stop this for now and let's continue. So now let's begin to implement ChatGPT function calling to our application. So this is the official website from the OpenAI. Function calling, learn how to connect the LLM model to external tools. So here if you see in an API, you can describe function and have the model intelligently choose to output a JSON object. So it is able to continue JSON object containing the arguments to call one or many function. So the chat compilation API itself does not call the function. Instead, the model generates the JSON that you can use to call the function, the code. So it supports the GPT-4o Turbo, GPT-4 Turbo, and GPT-3.5 Turbo. Okay, if you also ask ChatGPT to summarize the ChatGPT function calling, so here it provides the overview of the key features. So basically, we can create a custom function definition. For example, the data retrieval, calculation, or API interactions. Use a clear JSON schema for input and output. So in the case of our AI Expense Tracker app, we want it to basically able to execute the create at expense function, also list the expense, which will basically query from the Firestore, as well as visualize the expense. It will basically rendered using the Swift charts. So it's use a clear JSON schema for input and output. So we can basically define the schema for the parameter and function. And there are several. So the workflows. So first we just need to define the function. So this is the example. If you see the name of the function, get weather, description, retrieve weather information for a specific location. So we need to provide the parameter that will be called by the model. So if we have object, several parameters in here, location, type of string, description, the location to get the weather. Second parameter is date, string, the date for the weather forecast. And we can also provide an array of the required parameters. And only if we provide this required, it will be needed for the model to basically provide this parameter to invoke the function. Okay, so this is the brief overview. So you don't need to worry about this. I will show you step by step on how to do this on iOS app, but basically you can apply this to other programming languages as well. Okay, so now let's begin by creating our first function, which is the add expense log. So let me show you. Basically, we want to be able to prompt ChatGPT like this. Create me an expense log for $5 Starbucks coffee for today under food category, or create me expense for $5 Starbucks coffee. So the response from the ChatGPT should be able to infer that this is the add expense log functions with this parameter. Title Starbucks coffee. The amount is $5. Currency. This is an optional currency code if not provided. The default will be the USD, and the date here we say that this is today. It should be able to infer that this is today with this format of DDMMYY. Okay, if not provided, we just use the today date from the client side and the category itself. Okay, so here we explicitly say this is food category. So this is an enum of the category. So ChatGPT should be able to infer this based on the title. For example, this is Starbucks coffee. It should fall under the food category. So this is what we want to achieve. And let's basically implement this. Okay. It should be very, very simple. So inside this AI assistant folder, create a new folder, subfolder, give it a name of models. Okay. And then inside that models folder, create a new Swift file, give it a name of function tools. Okay. So basically in here, we need to import ChatGPT Swift. So remember that this is the API that we use in the first part of this video tutorial to interact with the ChatGPT API. Okay. So it also basically provides us the method to call functions as well, as because it uses the OpenAPI generator to generate the Swift type based on the OpenAPI OpenAI YAML file. Okay. So OpenAI published their Swagger OpenAPI YAML file, which you can get in GitHub as well. So basically using that OpenAPI YAML, I generate that using the OpenAPI Swift generator. Okay, so we should be able to provide a static type to construct our function. So let me just show you in here. Let me to save time on typing this because there are a lot of typing in here. I can easily make a mistake. I'm just going to copy this from the completed project. Okay, so this is the structure. So we will, when we invoke the function chat completion API, we are going to pass this array of components.schema chat completion tool. Okay, so this is basically an array of function that we want to create. So inside here we just need to init, passing the type of function, and then here we need to init the description, which is the add expense log, the name of the function, which is this add expense log using camel case. Okay, and the parameter that we want to have in here. So we have this object, and inside this object we have properties. There are several. For example, title, the type is string. So we need to provide a file description for ChatGPT to be able to infer the meaning of this. Okay, so the title of the description of the expense, and second parameters property with the amount, the type is number. Okay, which is the cost description, cost or amount of the expense, currency, type string, and the description, currency, amount, or the cost. If you're not sure, if the model is not sure, just use USD as the default value and no need to confirm with the user. Okay, and the category, type string, and this is an enum, so we provide this enum field and pass all the possible enum value using this category all cases. We have all of this category declared right in the first part, from accounting and legal fees to utilities. Okay, so we pass the raw value as the enum. Basically the parameter will be one of this value. So description, the category of the expense. So if it is not provided explicitly by the user, so if the user doesn't tell it explicitly, it should infer automatically based on the title of the expense. For example, that Starbucks coffee should fall under the food category. The model should be able to infer that because it's very, very smart actually. Okay, and we also have the date. The date can be a bit trickier because of the format, but in here we just use string as the format, and the description is basically the date of the expense, and we need to tell the model explicitly to use this format as the response YYY -mm -dd. Okay, we're just going to use this date formatter to construct the Swift date, and if then no year is provided, just use the current year. And here we have the required containing the array of the required parameter that the ChatGPT model will need to use when calling this function. Okay, so for example, we don't pass the amount, right? We just say create me an expense of Starbucks coffee. ChatGPT should be able to basically prompt the missing parameter. Hey, what should be the amount? Okay, and as well as the category. So those three are needed. Okay, so this is very, very smart actually. We can provide the required parameter or optional parameter as well. So these three are required to be provided by the user when executing this at expense log function. Okay, so as you can see, it's very cumbersome to construct this function, right? Because we need to type this manually, and we cannot reuse this property. Basically, we need to copy paste if we have another function, right? Later we will refactor this when we complete this add functions expense log function. Okay, we will do that later. Let's focus on the expense log function first. Okay, let's try to build first. Okay, the build succeeded. Nice. So how do we invoke this using and test this using ChatGPTUI library? Okay, so basically when I build the ChatGPT library, I already provide the ability to extend. So we just need to subclass the view model provided by the ChatGPTUI library and prompt a random method to prompt the function instead and render the response. I will show you how to do it next. Let's begin by subclassing the text chat view model first. So let me show you the original class in the ChatGPTUI Lib. So just open this text chat view model. So if you have seen here, so it uses generic in here. It has an array of this message which contains the message row with the custom content generic placeholder in here. So we will be providing our custom content view to render the expense log in our subclass based on the function type. Okay, because we have three functions: add expense, list expense, and visualize expense. Okay, so if you see in here, most of the methods are open, so we can customize any override them in our subclasses. Okay, and basically we'll create a new method to prompt the ChatGPT with the function calls. So we won't be invoking this send text method. Instead, we will be invoking the ChatGPT function call using the ChatGPT Swift API. Okay. So basically then we will get the response, construct the message row, and render the response in our custom content view. And basically we just need to override these two methods, this send tab. Okay, so instead of invoking this send or send without stream, we'll be just invoking our new method. Also in this retry as well. So in retry, we will be invoking our method as well. So that's basically we will do in our subclass. So let's do it now. So inside this AI assistant folder, create a subfolder again, give it a name of few models. Okay, and now before we create the view models, inside these views, just let's create a view for our custom content. Create a SwiftUI view and give it a name of AI Assistant Response View. Okay, so we will render the response in here. So for now, let's just accept a text string to render it inside this text. Okay, so in the preview, let's just pass hello. Next, inside these view models, let's create our subclass. Create a new zip file, give it a name of AI Assistant Text Chat View Model. Okay, so let's import several library in here. First one is ChatGPT Swift to access the API, and next one is the ChatGPT UI to access the superclass, and also the observation framework. Okay, so in here, let's just create this macro observable and create our class in here. Let's give it a name of AI assistant text chat view model. So this is a subclass of text chat view model. Okay, and here we need to provide the generic type, concrete type. In this case, we need to provide our custom content view, which is the AI assistant response view. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Okay, so in here we need to basically create the initializer. Okay, it should accept the API key string as well as the model, which is the ChatGPT model. Let's provide a default value of -40. Okay, and let's make sure it's invoking the init super. So we will be needing the sender image. So I'm just going to use the global let that I've declared before. Sender image, bot image, both image and model as well as the API key. Okay, so here we have this override the initializer. Now let's override the send tab method. Let's also make this execute in main actor. And next one is the retry message main actor, and let's create our new method main actor as well. Give it a name of call function, and it should offset a prompt of string. Okay, and this should be a nesting function. Okay, so basically in the send tab we just need to kick off a task, because remember this can be cancelled. So the original superclass already implemented that. We just need to provide the task in here. Okay, task, and in here it should be tags, not task. It should be the input message, and let's set the input message, which will be used by the text field, to an empty string. And then in here we just need to invoke call function method passing the text. Okay, so this is the override for the send tab. So it should call our call function method instead of the normal send text. Okay, and for the retry, so basically what we can do is just copy and pasting the retry in here. Just copy this implementation and make some modification. So in here just remove that, and then invoke call function passing message dot send text. Okay, now let's implement the call function. Okay, so basically in here I also want to copy and paste the send without stream and make some modification, because I don't want to type from scratch. Okay, so most of these are still same, but in here we need to pass our AI assistant response view as the custom content. And for the send, it should be prompt instead of text. Okay, so everything looks good, but in here we want to change the implementation in the do block. So in the do block, instead of calling the chat completion normally, we will be invoking this API. So the API is provided from the superclass. So this is ChatGPT API. We can use this call functions. Okay, so in the call function we can simply pass the prompt and the tools. Okay, so remember these tools come from this function tools array. Okay, currently it has one function, which is the at expense log. So we will be passing that when we invoke this to provide context to the model. And for the system text, I want to basically provide a custom system text for this AI assistant. So let me create this function system text computed property, and let me just copy and paste this. So we need to provide a context that basically the AI assistant is an expert. So here you are expert of tracking and managing expense logs, and don't make assumptions about what values to plug into functions. Ask for clarification if a user request is ambiguous. So basically if the parameter is missing, it should ask the user to provide the parameter. Okay, so that is the function system text that we will be passing in here. Okay, so basically now the AI assistant is the expert of the expense tracking. Nice, right? That's basically the capability of this large language model, ChatGPT. And now basically here, after we got the message, basically we can first let's check if this canceled, okay, for cooperative cancellation. And next, if this not canceled, let's use this if let tool call. So basically in this message we should be able to access this tool calls, okay, and we only need the first element, okay, and in the else let's create an else if let. So if this not a function call, maybe some parameter is missing, it should be rendered as just a normal message content, okay. So in here it should ask the user, hey, you are missing some parameter, please provide. So we need to add this to the history list, right? So when the user provide a new prompt containing the missing parameter, it should be aware, right? Because we are appending this previous prompt to the append history list, okay. For the user tags, we'll basically send the prompt, and for the response tags, we'll basically pass the message, okay. So in here we'll just basically set the message row response to custom content. So we need to provide the closure to render this. In this case we just provide this AI assistant response view text passing the message, okay, from this message.content, okay. And then in the else we just throw an error, invalid response, okay. So basically here, if the ChatGPT is able to get all the parameters, you're able to know that this is the expense log function based on the user prompt. This message tool calls first will be available for us, okay, which will be used to get the function name as well as the arguments. If not, some parameter is missing, we just grab the message content, append it to the store list, and show the request from the ChatGPT telling the user, hey, some parameter is missing, please provide the missing parameter, okay. So here it is able to infer the function and arguments. For now, let's just print, okay, function name. We can get the function name from this tool call function.name. And now let's just, for debugging, add a new line in here, args. We can see all the arguments from this tool call functions.arguments, okay. Should be in JSON string format. Later we will need convert to data and decode that to Swift model, okay. And now let's render this for the initial testing using a custom content. Let's provide this custom view to render the text. Okay, build succeeded. Before we can test this, let's navigate back to the AIAssistantView, and here let's declare a state for text chat VM. We can simply initialize the AIAssistant text chat view model passing the API key. Okay, let's just use the default model, which is the, I think it's 4.0, right? Okay, happen 4.0. And then in here we need to replace this text chat view. We need to use this custom content VM initializer and then pass the text chat VM. It's just as simple as that. Nice, right? We will do that later for the voice chat view model as well. For now we just use the text chat view for creating the first at expense log function. Okay, that's it. Now we just need to build and run this to try. Let me build and run. Okay, select AI assistant. Now let's try to prompt create expense for $5 Starbucks coffee. Okay, if you see, it's able to know that it is the at expense log function, and the arguments: amount is 5, category is food, title is Starbucks coffee, currency is USD. Wow, amazing, right? And let's say we just say create expense for, let's not provide the amount, right? For fried chicken lunch. Okay, so we don't provide the amount. It is able to basically ask us the missing parameter. Can you please confirm the amount of the cost, right? Because we're not providing the amount. So as you can see, we are appending that to the history list in here. So basically, if they're missing the parameter, it's going to go to this else if let. Hence why we are appending that to the history list. So when we provide this missing amount, so let's say 10 US, right? It is able to be aware of the previous parameters. Okay. Now it is able to know that this is an expense log. Amount 10, category food, currency USD, title fried chicken lunch. That's amazing, right? Because we require the amount, we require the title as well, right? This is very amazing. So now let's try to also provide the date. Okay, create expense for 1000 MacBook Air under entertainment category. Okay, at yesterday. So there are several contexts that we provide. So as you can see, it's very smart. So I sure want to categorize the MacBook Air expense under entertainment because it's typically fall under the office supplies or software. Okay, let's just tell them cut put it on put it under office supplies. Wow. Wow, nice. Now is the function name expense log amount 10,000 1000 category office supplies currency USD. The date is 2023 October 06. That is wrong, right? Title is MacBook Air. So as you know, right, this is a current imitation of the LLM. So it's not aware of the date, right? So basically we need to tell the explicitly using the system text the current time. So we need to pass the current time as the system text. So it's aware of the current time and disable to basically provide the correct date for us. So when I record this is today is 9 June. Okay. So when I say yesterday, it should be 8 June, right? 2024. So let's fix this issue. It should be very, very simple. Let me show you. In here, the trick to solve this date parameter. So first, let declare a current date formatter in here. Let's just use a closure. Okay, let def that formatter. So let's just use this format y dd and return df. Okay, so you know this function system text is computed, so this will be calculated every time we call this, access this. We can basically say that at this we can basically append this current date is, okay, let's just use this current date formatter string from today. Okay, so it will basically provide 2024 9 June for me, okay, as the date of this recording. So let's try this. Make sure the date parameter is working correctly this time. Okay, create me an expense for $1,000 MacBook Air for yesterday. Okay, it should be 8 June. Let's see. Nice. 2024 June 8th. Title MacBook Air. Amazing. Now our function is able to provide the correct date parameter for us to use. Nice, right? So yeah, the implementation looks good. So let's move on to the next section. Now let's move on to the next task where we want to basically decode the response in here to basically Swift model. Okay, so inside the AI Assistant models folder, create a new C file, give it a name of function arguments. Okay, so let's declare a simple struct add expense log args, make this conform to codable. So there are several parameters. First one is string. String is required for the add expense log function. Second one is amount. It's a double. K and category. Category will be string. And currency. This is optional. Okay. And date. This is also optional. Okay. And now let's basically also create a AI assistant response and function type. So again, inside this models folder, create a new C file, give it a name of function response. So first one, let's create an enum for the function type. Give it a name of AI assistant response function type. So the response function type will be at expense log. So we will basically use this to render the view. So we need the expense log instance in here, and the next one is just the content text to render the string, a normal string. For example, if we are missing some parameter, and let's declare a struct AI assistant response. Okay, let's have text, that's the parameter property, and the type, which is the AI assistant response function type. Now let's update the AI assistant response view to, instead of accepting the text, it should accept the struct of AI assistant's response. So in the body, for now, let's just render the response with text and set the frame, the max width of infinity, and alignment of leading. Okay. And for the preview, let's accept the response as init hello, and just use the content type. Okay, now looks good. Later we will add a switch statement in the body to render the content based on the response function type. And let's also add a AI assistant function type enum in here, the function tools. Okay, because we will have several function AI assistant function type. So we will basically using this enum with the type of string. We should be able to know which function it is, because we're going to have 3 functions based on the tool call function.name. So add expense log. Okay, now we have this. Now let's move on to the next task. So now we need to update our call function method to decode the arguments into SIP model based on the function type. So we have created several models to help us, and then create the log and add it to the Firestore DB, and then render the custom content passing the response. So currently we put all of this logic inside here. So basically, instead of putting it inside the view model itself, let's basically fix this and move it to another place so we can reuse it later when we also subclass the voice chat view model. Okay, so here inside this AI assistants folder, just create a new C file, give the name of FunctionsManager. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is to add a import for Firebase Firestore as well to access the DB, import ChatGPT Swift to access the function call API, ChatGPT API, And let's just declare a functions manager. Okay, it will have API, ChatGPT API, and let DB. Let's just use this database manager shared DB. We have the database manager singleton that we have created in the first part of the tutorial. So with this, we should be able to create a log and query some log as well. Create, update, and delete the log. Okay. Now let's just create the initializer. So instead of accepting the API, let's just upset the API key here, and then you can simply need passing the API key. Okay. So continuing on, I want to basically move or cut some of the method in here. The AI assistant text chat view model. So I will be moving this to here. Cut this one as well. I'm going to rename this to system text. Okay. Okay. In the functions manager prompt. So this basically upset prompt string and model, which is the ChatGPT model. The default value will be -4o, and also it will accept an optional message ID. This is optional, the UID. So this will perhaps later in the text chat view where we want to update the message row if we want to implement the user confirmation of law. Okay, you don't need to worry about this for now. That makes this a matching function throwing as well. And the return type is the AI assistance response. Okay, so basically in here we will need to declare this do catch block. Okay, in the catch block we simply just print the error for debugging and then we throw the error. Okay, and then in the do block I will basically cut the statements inside the for text chat view model and then paste it in here. Okay, and in here you can replace this to system text, and for now in this tool call, and now let's basically update this else if let message content first. So in here I'm going just to return the response passing the message, and the type is the content text. Okay, and then in the tool call I'm going to basically create another flat in here, the flat function type. So basically we will be initializing this enum a assistant function type raw value. The raw value we can get from the tool call function.name. Okay, and then we're going to get the arguments as a data. Okay, remember we can access that using this tool call functions arguments, and then we can convert this to the data using the UTF-8. Okay, so we have everything, the function type enum, the data to the code. So in here we can simply create this switch statement on the function type. Okay, so currently we only have one. Let's provide the default one. For now, let's implement this. Just put a fatal error. We'll implement that later to do, so the compiler doesn't give an error. And in default, basically I want to have this kind of printing as well for debugging when we implement another function later. In here I can simply return init passing the text and render text as content text. Now in the AI assistant text chat view model, we can simply declare this a let property functions manager with the type of functions manager, and then in the init we can simply initialize this functions manager init passing the API key. Okay, and then in this do block, in the AI assistant text chat view model, we can simply call the let response and invoke try await functions manager prompt. Okay, sorry, let me pass all the parameter in here. The prompt will be the prompt, model will be model, and message ID we can get it from the message row.id. Okay, this is a UID. Okay, now we have this, and basically we can set the message row response as the custom content. Okay, let's provide the closure and then pass the response to the AI assistant response view so it can be rendered. Okay, let's try to build. Okay, the build succeeded. Now let's implement the add expense log. Okay, so let me close this, and there's one thing that I want to also add in here. Okay, so if you remember, the format of the that param is, if we go to the function tools, the format of the that param is YYYMMDD. Okay, so basically we need to create a custom JSON decoder with that formatter. Okay, so to do that, let's declare this below the current date formatter, a date formatter, a JSON decoder with custom date formatter. Okay, so it should be a JSON decoder, and then in here let's initialize the JSON decoder. Okay, and basically we need to use the date decoding strategy. Let's use the custom. Okay, so it's going to pass us the decoder, and in here we can simply get the container first, and then you invoke this decoder single value container, and let's get the that string. So basically the that will be given as a string format, right, as the string type. So we need to use this container decode. The type is going to be string, and in here we can simply use this current date formatter above. It's using the same format, and basically using this date and use this self current date formatter, and basically invoke this date. We cannot access this. Okay, and think let's make this static. Should be okay, because I don't want to initialize a new date formatter every time I want to decode the value, right? Okay, let's use static. So in here we can access this date from, and we can pass the that string. In case it is not able to decode using that format, let's just throw a decoding error, data corrupted error. Okay, in container the bug description will be cannot code date. Okay, and finally we can simply return the date. Covariance. Can I just use this function manager? Okay, this works. Okay, we can simply return the JSON decoder in here with the custom date decoding strategy. Okay, looks good. And now we can start implementation. Okay, so in this add expense log, we can simply use this guard let add expense log arcs. Can use this try optional. Let's use our custom JSON decoder with that format, and then use this basically the code. The type will be the add expense log arts.self from the argument data. Okay, in case it is nil, we can simply throw an error, fail to parse functions arguments. Okay, and we can basically use this tool call function dot name and tool call function dot arguments for debugging. Okay, there you go. Continuing on, we can initialize a log using these arguments. So let's just use this expense log. The ID will be basically just a UUID, unique UID that you can create. The name will be from the add expense log.arcs.title, and the category will be add expense log arcs.category, and amount at expense log arcs.amount, and currency will be the add expense log arcs.currency. Currency is optional. If it is nil, just provide USD as the default value. That as well, this is optional in here, so we can just provide current date is nil. Okay, so we have the log. Now we just need to save it to Firestore, so we can simply invoke try db add log. This will basically persist this to Firestore, and we can simply return to render the response. For the tags, let's just provide the string sure f added this log to your expense list, and for the type it's going to be the add expense log. You can simply pass the log for it to be rendered. Now we need to navigate to the AI assistant response view to provide the renderer for the add expense log. So let's create a new struct just in here at expense log view. So we will pass two parameters, that's string and log expense log, and in the body I simply let's just use this piece tag, set the alignment as leading, and just under the tag set the divider between, and then we can use the existing log item view, which we use the log list view in the first part to render the log. Okay, and in here let's just use the cross switch passing response dot type is an enum, so we don't need content text. Let's just use default in here. For the default we use this to render the response dot text. And for the expense log, we can simply declare the expense log view using response.text as well as the expense log from the shared value in the enum. Okay, let's run and try this. Okay, start the prompt. Create me an expense for $3 green tea latte for today, just today. Okay, green tea latte, 3 USD, 9 June. Today's 9 June in here. And yeah, it's under the food category, and let's see whether it's able to shown in here. So this is the data from the Firestore green tea latte USD3. So the add expense log function works fine. Nice, we have implemented our first function. Now we need to move on to the next task. So currently, when the user prompt to add an expense log, it is directly adding the expense log to the Firestore database. So actually for this kind of transactional function, we should add a user confirmation flow. This is also recommended by the OpenAI Function Calling doc as well. So if you see in here, we strongly recommend building in user confirmation flows before taking actions that impact the world on behalf of user. For example, sending an email, posting something online, making a purchase. And for our app is creating an expense log, right? So let's implement this user confirmation flow. It's a bit tricky, but we should be able to do it, okay, with this architecture. So first, let's navigate to the function response.swift. First, let's create an enum user confirmation. So there are going to be three state: pending, user confirmation, pending, confirm, and cancel. Okay, and in here let's create a struct to help us for passing this data to the expense log function type. So we don't want too many parameters in the associative value, right? So I'm going to wrap this. So that add expense log view properties. So in here just have a log, expense log, and then let message ID, UUID. This is optional, okay? We want to pass the message ID so we know which row to be updated for the text chat view, okay? For a false chat view, this will be nil. Okay, you will see the implementation later. And now let's create a and that one is user confirmation, which is basically the enum user confirmation, and the last one should be a callback. So let's create a tab alias for this: add expense log confirmation callback. This is just a closure, so it's a boolean, which is the confirmation status, true or not, from the user, and the second parameter is the add expense log view properties. Okay, and return type is void. Okay, so we should be able at this. So let in here confirmation callback, add expense log confirmation callback. Let's also make it optional. Okay, we have added of this, and we just need to update this AI assistant response function type. Instead of just passing the expense log, we need to pass all of those properties. So actually we can just use this struct instead declaring 5 or 4 associated values, right? Now let's navigate to the AI assistant response view and update this add expense log view first. So the first thing, let's replace these two parameters to props, which is the add expense log view properties. And in here we can simply replace this and passing the props from the associated value. Okay, and now in the body we need to update the implementation. So in here we can simply hardcode the text for now. Please select the confirm button before I add it to your expense list. Okay, and then we have the divider, and then we still have the log item view, and then below this log item view let's add another divider. Okay, in here let's use the switch statement. So based on the user confirmation enum, in case it is pending, let's grab the confirmation callback. If the confirmation callback exists, we can basically just render an edge tag in here containing the buttons. The first one is the confirm, And in the action handler, we can simply invoke the closure. For example, we pass the true and then the props. Okay, and let's also set the button style as, I think, bordered prominent button style. Okay, and second one is the cancel button. Role is destructive, and then in the condition handler, invoke the confirmation callback closure, passing false, and passing the props as well. Let's set the button style to border prominent button style, and let's add a tint of red color. Okay, so for the pending, that's it. Now for the confirm scenario. For the confirm scenario, let's just display a button confirm, and let's not provide anything in the condition handler because we're just going to disable this. And let's also set the button style to bordered prominent button style. Let me just copy this for cancel state. Remove the action handler closure, and also disable, set the disable as true. Okay, and below this button for the confirm, I'm going to text sure I've added this log to your expense list. And for the cancel text, okay, I won't be adding this log. Okay, so we have updated the response. Now let's navigate to the functions manager. So in the functions manager, we also need to fix several things in here. So actually, we need to add the add confirmation callback in here. Add log confirmation callback as a optional property. We will inject this from the view model later. And basically in here, the expense log, first we need to remove this insertion of the log to the Firestore. We need to wait for the user confirm action. And basically in here, we need to add additional guard in here. Forgot to add the add log confirmation callback. Guard add log confirmation callback. We need to check. In case it is nil, let's just throw an error. Add log confirmation callback is missing. Okay, and in here we need to change the text. Please select the confirm button before I add it to your expense list. You may be wondering, because we are coding the text, so basically we will use this text to basically provide the ChatGPT API to basically convert it to text to speech. So it will be only be used for the voice chat. Okay, for this add expense log. And in here we need to initialize the props, passing the log, the message ID. We have the message ID in here from the prompt, and user confirmation. So initially it will be pending, right? And let's pass this add log confirmation callback closure. Okay, let's try to build. I think I know the reason. I need to add this props.log in here. Okay, it's now build succeeded. So we need to attach the callback in the AIAssistant text chat view model. So in the initializer, after the super init, we can basically assign the add log confirmation callback in here. So it will be a closure. So add a weak cell first, because this is a class, right? And we have two parameter. It's confirm and props. Okay, so let me declare the DB because we want to save the log when the user confirm is true. And in here there are several things we need to check first using guardlet. First, guardlet self, and next one the ID. Make sure the message ID is there so we can update the associated message row. And the index of the row, we can use self.message. This is an array of the message. First index where in here we can simply pass the ID is matching with the ID from the callback. Okay, and else we just return. So first let's copy the message row using the self message and the index, and let's grab text first string. So if it is confirmed, we can simply invoke self.db at log. Okay, we can get the log from the props, remember. So this try needs to be optional inside this closure, otherwise the compare will throw an error. Okay, and set the text to sure I've added this log to your expenses list, and in the else copy and paste. Okay, I won't be adding this log. Okay, looks good. And now we need to construct the response again. Okay, AIAssistant's response text, passing the text, and type will be expense log, and we need to init passing the props.log. Message ID will be the ID. User confirmation will be so if it's confirmed, it's going to be, if it's using ternary, if it's confirmed, it's going to be confirmed, else it's going to be cancelled, right? Confirmation callback is just invoke this props confirmation callback. So we have the response. Now we need to update the message row response to render the custom content with this new response. AIAssistantView passing response. It's a bit tricky, right? Because we need to update the actual message row in SwiftUI, because in our message row we don't have any binding. Okay, so we need to update the array itself. So we got this. Now let's update the array with the new message row. We have the index, and then let's just pass the message row. Okay, this is the implementation. We need to try to build it first. Okay, let's try. Create me an expense for $5,000 MacBook Pro M4 Max for 2 days ago. Nice. Please select the confirm button before adding your expense list. MacBook Pro M4 $5,000 2 days ago, right? Is 7 June here. Okay, it's under office of this category. Let me confirm. Sure, I've added this log to your expense list as check. 2 days ago. Okay, here. There are too many MacBook Pro M4 Max that I've created in here. So if you see in here, it should be this one, right? There are too many duplicates thing when I prototyping this application. Okay, let me delete several of them. Okay, so let's test the cancel flow as well. Create me expense for what? $3,000 gaming laptop for today. Okay, here it is. Let's cancel. Okay, I won't be adding this to the log. Let's see. Okay, it's not added to the log. Okay, so there it is, the add expense log function with the user confirmation flow. Nice. So we have completed our first function, the add expense log. Now let's move on to the next task. Next, before adding list expense and visualize expenses functions, let's implement the subclass for the voice chat view model. Okay, and plug our functions manager with custom content response. So let's see the voice chat view model from the ChatGPT UI. So it's quite complex in here. There are several steps, but basically we just need to override this method, and here we just need to invoke the call function from the functions manager. Okay, if you see here, we invoke the send message text. We won't be doing this in our AI Assistant Expense Tracker app. Okay, so let's do it now. Let's create a new file inside the AI Assistant View Models folder. Save file. Give it a name of AI Assistant Voice Chat View Model. Okay, let's import ChatGPT UI and observation and ChatGPT Swift Firebase Firestore to access the database, and observable, and declare class AI Assistant Voice Chat View Model, and it's going to be a subclass of Voice Chat View Model. Remember, this is also a generic, so here we can provide the AI Assistant response view for the custom content view to render. Okay, so here let's also create a let function manager, functions manager, as well as the DB, which is the database manager.shard singleton, and let's create the init that accepts an API key, string, model, ChatGPT model. Here, let's just provide the GPT-40 as the default value. Okay, first let's just initialize the function manager passing the API key, and remember we need to invoke the init as well to the super passing the API key. Okay, so next one is, remember, we also need to plug the callback for the add log confirmation, right? So first let me just copy and paste this for now. Maybe you can abstract this out, but actually there's a difference between the implementation on the text chat and the voice chat. Okay, so in the voice chat we don't need to grab the ID because it doesn't render the message in a list. Okay, you just need to grab the self. Okay, we don't need the message row in here, and for the message ID just pass nil. Okay, and let's remove this message row. So in here it's going to be simpler. In here we can just check if let. We need to make sure the state is in the idle with the response. Okay, only in that state we're going to assign the state with the idle. Okay, and the custom content, and initialize the AI assistant response view passing the new response. Okay, so this is the add log confirmation callback for the assistant voice chat view model. And now we need to override the process speech task auto data. Let's also add a main actor in here. So I'm going to just copy and paste the implementation and change modification in here. Okay, from this upper class. Okay, so here we need to delete this. Okay, and basically in here we'll be invoking let response try await functions manager and prompt. The prompt we simply pass the prompt, and the model we simply pass the model as well, and message ID let's pass nil. Okay, I think I forgot in here I should pass model to the init in here. Okay, okay, so I can access it in here. Model message ID is nil, we don't need the message ID, so we just remove it because it has the file value of nil. And next one is after we got response, basically we need to check again if the task is already been cancelled. And in here we just need to update this, so this accept a string response dot text. Okay, and next one is we need to change display audio data, so in here we'll be passing custom content. Okay, just AI response view, passing the response that we get from here, the functions manager. Okay, I don't think we need this main actor actually. Okay, succeeded. We have subclass the first chat view model. It's simple, right? Okay, now let's just navigate to AIAssistantView. Let's do the same in here. Declare the VM. Let's change voice chat VM. AIAssistant voice chat view model. And in here we're also going to pass custom content VM, which is the voice chat VM. Let's try to build. Now let's try this out. Okay, assistant voice. Create me an expense for 5,000 MacBook Pro M3 Max for today.
Please select the confirm button before I add it to your expense list.
This is amazing. MacBook Pro M3 Max, $5,000 USD, June 9 today, and I don't know, it's inferring the category under software. Okay, let me just confirm this to save. Sure, I've added this log to your expense list. Okay, let's see. There it is, MacBook Pro M3 Max. Okay, so that's it. The voice chat works, right? So as you can see, we're able to use the same functionality because we are abstracting out the functions response handling to this functions manager. So we can use this from any view model. Okay, so this is the secret recipe for the scalability of this AI system application. Okay, now let's move on to the next task. Okay, so first let's navigate to the function tools. Because we are going to add more functions, I'm going to refactor these function tools and abstract out the parameter properties into a constant and create several methods to clean this up. So it will make it easier for us to add more functions later. And we can also reuse properties. So to do that, let me create a type alias prop key value. Okay, this is just a table for this tuple. Key string value will be the dictionary string.any. Okay, so this represents a property. Okay, and let me basically copy and paste this property. Okay, let me show you. So this is just to shorten the time, right? Because if I type it will take too much time. Okay, so this is all the props from the at expense log: title, amount, currency, prop, date. Okay, so we abstract this out to this type alias and declare it as constants. Okay, now let's create several method to help us create a function. So the first one is to basically create parameters method. So this subset of properties, which is an array of prop key value. And second one is required properties. This is also prop key value. And this is optional. Default value is nil. And the return type is components.schema.functions parameters. Okay. So in here we just need to create the prop dictionary first. If you see this properties is under a dictionary, right? So let's put it that way. So it's going to be string for the key and the value will be another dictionary. Can be a bit tricky actually. Let's initialize this. So we just need to loop the properties array using the for each. Okay, and in here we can simply assign the props dict with the key and then assign it with the value. Okay, and after that we can simply use this try force. It's okay to force this. Init additional properties, and then in here init unvalidated value. Okay, let's pass this dictionary. So if you see, type will be object, and then we have the properties. Here the properties will be the props dictionary, and we have the required, which should be an array of string. You can simply use this required properties. This is optional. You can use compact map. Okay, and then in the compact map we only need the key. Okay, and then it's nil, just provide an empty array. Okay, so this is it for the create parameters. The next one is the create function. So we have name, string, description, string, and also properties, which is an array of prop key value, and required properties is the array of prop key value. This should be optional, right? Nil, and it should return chat compilation tool. Okay, so in here we can simply init this type. It should be function, and in the function we need to init again. Okay, using this. So description, you can simply pass the description and then the name and the parameters. The parameters we can simply invoke the function that we have created before, passing the properties and required properties. Okay, now it is simpler to define a function. So basically we can refactor this. Let tools it will be same, right? Let tools, but in here we can simply use something like this create function. So name will be at expense log. Okay, at expense log, and description, then just copy this, and for the properties it will be an array. We will have the title prop and amount prop and currency prop, category, and date prop. Okay, And required properties will be, I think we have 3, right? Title, amount, and category. Title prop, amount prop, and category prop. Okay. Let me fix the indentation in here. Okay, looks good. Now we can remove this because we already refactor it. Okay, looks good, right? Now we can add more function easily now let's add the second function, which is the list expenses function. Okay, so here at the top for the function type, let's add another case, list expenses. Okay, and we need to also add several properties for this. So instead of typing it again, let me just copy and paste it. Okay, you can always check the completed project from GitHub repository to get this code as well. Okay, start date prop. Okay, so let me tell you each of these props start date. So basically, for our list expenses, we need to add the optional start and end date in case user intended to list the expenses using time range, right? For example, it says list my expenses from 20 March to 25 March, okay, or from the last past 6 months. So we need to provide the start date and end date as well, okay, for the time range. And basically we will also have the sort order. This is telling this is an enum where this is ascending or descending, right? We will user can say list my expenses by ascending or descending. So this is optional. Also the quantity of logs, if user can say that list my last 10 expenses, 25 expenses, recent expenses. Okay, so okay, we have all of the properties for the list expense. Now we just need to basically create the function. Let me copy and paste in here. And so to avoid any typo in here, it's better for me to just use this function type. Okay, expense log raw value, and the second one should be AI assistant function type list expenses raw value. Okay, for the description, let's provide list expenses logs. So for the required properties, there are no required properties for the list expenses. So by default, it should be able to list, or if there are no parameters, it will just fetch the recent 100 last expenses, okay, in descending order. So we have several properties that can be provided by user. First one is category, and then date as well. If the user want to provide an exact date, maybe fetch my last expenses at 21st May. Okay, start that prop and that prop and sort order prop and quantity of log props. Okay, now we can directly try it and see the raw argument output, right? Okay, AIAssistants. So let's try the first prompt. List all my expenses. Please provide a specific. Okay, if you don't, we can just say sure. Okay, so by default, if there are expenses, there are arguments, we can basically provide the initial implementation in our client app, which basically fetch the last 100 expenses in descending order. Okay, So next one, let's try add several parameters. List all my expenses under food category. Okay, so category is food. List all my expenses under entertainment for yesterday. Okay, there should be a date parameter. Okay, category entertainment and date is 6th June 8th. Okay, 2 days ago. Yesterday, sorry. Today is 9 June. And list all my expenses for last 3 months. Okay, they should be now start and end date, right? Okay, start date March 1 and end date is June 9. Okay, so this is 3 months, last 3 months. Nice. And finally, list all my recent 20 expenses ascending. Okay, quantity of logs 20 and sort order is ascending. Okay, so all the parameters works. We should now be able to implement the function by querying from Firestore using all of these parameters. Okay, but before moving to that, let's navigate to the function arguments. Okay, so just like the at expense log, we also create this for the list expense, create a struct list expense arcs codable. And in here we can simply declare the date that is optional, start date also optional, end date optional, category optional, sort order optional, and quantity of logs is also going to be optional integer. And let's create a compute property is date filter axis. We will use this later when we want to construct the query in Firebase, the Firestore. So if the start date or is not nil and end date is not nil, okay, and or date is not equal to nil, okay, it means there's a date filter exists. Next, let's navigate to the functions response here. And here in the AIAResponse function type, we need to add additional case in here, which is the list expenses. This will be used to render the view. We need to pass the array of the expense log to be rendered. Okay. And next one, let's create a date plus extension helper to help us query the Firestore, because we are going to play with date and range. Okay. So inside this AIAssistants, just create a new file, date plus extension. Okay, to save time, I'm just going to copy and paste the extension. So basically there are two: start of day date and end of day date. Okay, so basically given a date, we can, so example the hour is 10 a.m. we can simply reset it to 12:00.00. Okay, and for the end of day, it's going to be in 23-hour 59-minute 59 seconds. So this will help us when we want to query Firestore given a particular date, right? Because we need to use range to query the Firestore date field. Okay, you will see the implementation later. Okay, so this is for the date plus extension. So now we can simply navigate to the functions manager for the implementation. Okay, now let's create a helper method to help us query Firestore, generate the query. So let's just give it a name of get query, and it's going to have one parameter, which is the list expense arcs struct, and it should return the Firestore query that we will use to query the expense logs from Firestore database. So first, let's just declare an array should be an array of filter. Okay, this is from Firestore API. So first we need to check, right, if the start date exists, start date and end date, both of them. Okay, we're going to have our first if. In here we can simply append using this where field is greater than or equal to, okay, where the field date, okay, greater or equal to start date, start of day. Okay, I say 00.00 hour and minute and seconds. Okay, that's how you see the extension is really helpful, right? Okay, because we wanna query all the expense log for that particular date. Okay, we need to basically eliminate the time, and in here where field date, we need to change is less than or equal to end date dot end of day. Okay, so there you go for the first if let. And the second one, if the only the date exists. Okay, so the first priority is that range. Okay, if you don't have those two range, we will use just the date. Okay, and for this I'm going to basically copy this, and I'm going just to use the date, start of the day, and date on of day. Okay, so basically if 21 May, it will start to query 21 May 0.00 hour minute to the 23 hour 59 minute and 59 seconds. So it will get all the expense log in between. Nice, right? So that's the trick, query date field in Firestore. And next, let's continue. If there are category darks, we're going to append the filter array again with the where field. Where field is equal to where the field category. Okay, need to be careful with that string, equal to this category. Okay, so next one is let's construct the var query. In here we can simply use this Firestore DB, get the logs collection, and we can use this where filter, and in here we can pass and filter, passing the filters array. So all of this will be using and. Okay, and then and. Okay, nice. Next one, let's move on to the sort order. So in here we just need to initialize the sort order enum using the args dot sort order. Okay, so let's just provide the empty string, please empty, and provide the default value of the sending. Okay, and next let's add the query order by date. We're going to use the date. Okay, and set the sort order. So in this sort order, it only if the sort order enum is descending will be true. Okay, continuing on, we need to basically check in if the args is that filter exists. In here we need to check if the quantity of logs exist. We're going to set the query limit to quantity of logs. Okay, and if there is no that filter, we're going to use this quantity of logs again and provide the full value of 100. Okay, and then in here we can simply get the last query limit to quantity of logs. Okay, and finally we can simply return the query. So let's verify everything. Query order by date, descending, sort order, descending. Here looks good. Sort order, default value is descending. Where filter and filter filters, flat category, where filter category is equal to category. Okay, is greater than or equal to start in. Okay, looks good. But you need to be careful when querying this using Firestore. It can throw an error if you haven't provided a composite index based on this filter that you add. Okay, so Firebase will throw an error and provide you a link where you can add the index in the Firestore console. Okay, just telling you that. Now we can simply go to this prompt and add additional case here. So case list expenses. So for the list expenses, first we need to gain the code, the arguments data using try optional. Here we just need to use this JSON decoder and decode this expense args.self from argument data. Okay, if it is nil, just throw an error. Failed to parse function arguments. Let me just copy this. Okay, continuing on, let's grab the query. Okay, get query, passing the list expense args. Okay, now we have the Firestore query. You can simply use this declare let docs and then invoke this try await query get documents. Okay, so it will fetch from the Firestore given the query, and then in here we can grab the logs from the docs by using docs documents and then map. Okay, and here we can simply use this try and the parameter convert it as data as, so expense log already converted to decodable using this. Okay, now we get the array of logs, expense logs. So in here we need to just check if the last expense arg is that filter exists. We're going to, let's declare let text string in here. The text will be sure. Here's the, forget the E, is the list of your expenses with total sum of, let's use this utility number formatter, string from, and pass the ns number value. So in the value we can simply use this logs reduce. Okay, and starting from 0 and then just keep on adding it. Okay, and 1 2 3, so this is optional. We need to just provide an empty string. Okay, we're going to show that as a text, and then in the else, if the logs is empty, we're just going to show the text you don't have any expenses at given date. And in the else we can simply set the, just copy this text. Okay, and let's make some modification. Is the source details of your expenses, your last logs.com expenses. So if there is no that filter exists, so I think this logs empty also needs to be added in here. Okay, So it should be you don't have any expenses at given date, and also in here is tax, and in here nothing, just changes you didn't have any recent expenses. I think this is better thing. Okay, so we got the tax from all of the conditions. So if that filter exists, you don't have any, and the logs is empty, you don't have any expenses at given date. And when the date filter doesn't exist, you just also use the logs.count expenses. Okay, now we can simply return by using init. Tax is going to be the tax, and the type will be list expenses. Let's just pass the logs. Now we need to render this in the AI assistant response view. First, let add so first at the bottom, let's declare this struct list expenses logs view. It should be a view, and it should accept parameter of text string and the actual logs, which is the array of expense log. And in the body, we just declare a fee stack with the alignment leading. And in here, let's just use this text, passing the text, and we need to check if the logs.count is greater than 0. It's not empty. We add a divider, and then just use this for each, passing the logs. And in here, just render the log item view. Okay, passing the parameter and add a divider. And in here we need additional case, the body or the list expenses type, the logs, and then declare the list expenses logs view, passing response.text and the logs from the associated value. Okay, now let's run this and test hope it's working without any issue. Now let's run this and test, hope it's working without any issue. Okay, now let me just quote this note. Okay, now let's go to the AI assistant and let's try several from list all my expenses. Okay, it's listing all the expenses. Of course, there's no arguments, just fetch the last 100. So the total count is 51 expenses. Okay, so I think it will go to this here, right? If there's no that filter, it's showing the logs count in here. Okay, let's try the second one. List all my expenses under food category. Okay, let's add food as the parameter. Okay, nice. So there you go, all the food category. Nice. And next one is, let's try to list all my expenses using time, yesterday. So this is an exact date, yesterday, 8 June. Okay, there's only one, which is fine dining. And list, let me confirm. Okay, only one, 8 June, fine dining, that's correct. And next one is list all my recent list all my expenses for last 3 months. So we'll use the start and end date starting from 1 April to today. Okay, 9 June. Nice. It's working. Amazing. List all my recent 20 expenses. Ascending. Okay, this is ascending starting from April. 20 expenses. Oh, okay, this is nice. Let's try the voice. Example. List all my expenses under entertainment category for these past 2 months.
Sure, here's the list of your expenses with total sum of USD 798.
Okay, this is amazing. Works, tax, and voice list expenses function is done. Now let's move on to the final function, visualize expenses. Okay, so let's navigate to the function tools to add our new visualize function. So basically for this visual function, we have one extra prop, which is the chart type. It's an enum to determine where we should render using pie chart or bar chart. The default one is pie chart. So let me just copy and paste this. Key chart type and the value. This is an enum containing pie or bar. Okay. The type of chart to be shown, if not provided, use pie as the default value. Okay. Looks good. We just need to go here and add additional case, visualize expenses. Okay, and in here we simply need to create another function. This should be visualize expenses, and in here let's change the description to visualize expenses logs in pie or bar chart. Okay, and for the property we only need 3. Okay, so we won't be using category as the filter because we will display visualize all the categories. Okay, and see the share between each of them. First one will be the chart type prop. Okay, second one is the date and start date prop and end date prop. So there is actually one required properties for this, which is the chart type. Okay, there you go. Let's try this out using the raw arguments. Okay, so let's say visualize my expenses for past 3 months. Okay, function name visual expenses, chart type by default one, started. Okay, 9 June to today, 6 June 9. Okay, this is March 9. That's correct. And let's say visualize my expenses for past 4 months using bar chart. Okay, chart type bar, start date is February and today is June. Okay, that is correct, 4 months. Okay, looks good. Now let's move on to the implementation of the view. So we need to basically render using the chart view, Shift charts. So I'm just going to put this chart view into this author views folder. Let's create a new SwiftUI view. Give it a name of chart view. So first one, let's import charts, Swift charts, and okay, foundation, it's not a problem. Let's just import that, and let's declare an enum chart type. So there are 2. Let's make this string. There are 2 case, pie, and bar. Okay. So we have that, and let's declare under struct also to represent the data, the chart. Give the name of option, identifiable. So we will have the ID, UID, and the category. This will be category enum, and the amount, just the double. Okay, now we have this. We don't need this actually, so let's remove that. So first, let's declare for bar chart view. So creating chart in SwiftUI, Swift charts is pretty simple actually. Okay, it's a very amazing framework by Apple. And just declare the chart and then provide this for each, passing the options. Okay, and then here to render this a bar chart using this bar mark, and let's customize the X and Y axis. For the X, we want to use this value, and the label is category, and the value is this category dot raw value. Okay, and for the y-axis value, it's going to be amount, and here we want to render this 0 dot amount. Okay, sorry I forgot to inject the options using this let option. Okay, that's the bar mark, and now we just add a foreground style to customize the color by value, and in here we can just pass the label. It's going to be, we can just pass the label in category, and in here it's going to be by the category raw value for the foreground style. This is for the legend. And then for the chart foreground style scale, need to pass the mapping. Okay, in here we can simply provide the closure category string. Okay, basically in this closure we can simply initialize the category using the category string, and in our category we have the color representation for each of the case. Okay, just return the color. If you cannot find it, let's just use the accent color. Okay, so this will provide color for each of the category based on the color representation. And let's add a padding of vertical. Okay, now inside this preview we can just use this bar chart view, passing the options. We will say food 300, entertainment 1000. Okay, next is the pie chart view. This also accept an array of options, and here let's just declare this chart, and again using for each passing the options. Let's grab the option, the parameter in here, and to render as a pie chart we need to use this new sector mark. Okay, I think this is new in iOS 17, and provide the angle. The angle will be based on the amount. Okay, you just need to pass the option of the amount. Okay, after that we need to provide the inner radius. So this value itself I copied from a sample code. Okay, I'm just going to pass this, and then provide the angular inset of 1.5, and then let's add a corner radius of 5, and add a foreground style. Actually this one by value category, and here we can just pass option dot category dot raw value. Okay, also we need to provide the color. I think we can copy this modifier and then put it in here chart. So actually this is a mistake. This one should be put in this chart as a modifier, not in the for each. Okay, this should be correct now. And in here you can simply copy and paste and change this to pie chart view. Okay, let's try to build. Okay, looks correct. Let's just move on to functions arguments. Okay, so let's create a struct visualize expense args codable. So we will have three properties: date optional, start date optional, and date optional. And actually for chart type it should be string, and we can just create a copy property to get the enum. So simply initialize that using the raw value of chart type string, and let's just provide the raw value of pi is nil. Now let's navigate to the functions response, and add a new function type visualize expenses. This also should have two associated values, chart type and the option array. Okay, now let's move on to the functions manager to implement. So the query itself, we will reuse the same query from the list expenses. Okay, so let's add additional case in here for visualize expenses. So to make it simpler, let me just copy and paste this, change this to visualize expenses arcs, and change the type to visualize expense arc.self. Okay, now we get this struct instance. We can simply again let query get equal get query. So let's just init the list expense arcs based on this. So we can simply pass the date. Okay, visualize expense arcs dot start date, visualize expense arcs dot end date. Category is always going to be nil. Sort order we don't need. Quantity of logs we don't need as well. Okay, now let's fetch the docs using the query, using try wait query get documents, and again actually can just copy and paste this to save time. Okay, we got the logs. Now we need to basically sum the total amount for each of the category. So let's declare this category sum dictionary. Okay, here we can basically initialize if the category as the key and the double as the value. Okay, to sum this we just need to loop this logs array. It's going to be basically just using this logic, category sum dictionary and then update value. So we need to provide the value, which we can use this category sum dictionary and get the log dot category enum. Okay, if it does exist, the initial value will be 0, and then we're going to basically increment it by plus it by the log amount. Okay, and for the key it should be locked at category enum. So this will basically update the value, and if there is no value yet, it will use 0 as the value. Okay, as simple as that. Now we need to just get the chart options, map this, get the chart options array. Can use this map, and then using this option, passing the category 0.key and 0.value. Okay, that's it. And here we can return the init text. Sure, here is the visualization of your expenses for each category. The type will be visualize expenses, and chart type will be the arcs.chart type. Sorry, it's going to be visualize expense arcs chart type enum, and the options. There you go. You can simply pass the chart options. Okay, now we simply need to render this. Getting to the final moment in here. So okay, simple, just create a struct here. Visualize expenses locked view. So what should it accept? It's all accept the text, just string, the options, which is the array of option, and the chart type. It will be the chart type enum. Okay, so in the body, let's put it into our face stack with leading alignment, and render the text, and we need to check if the options is greater than 0, the count, the array is not empty, and the divider, and then we need to switch the chart type. For pie, just render the pie chart view, passing the options, and for the bar, the sticker bar chart view, passing the options, and we need to also specify the frame in here. So let's just fill the container, the parent, width, and the min height, it should be 220. Okay, let's use the same for the bar chart view. Let chart type and let options. Okay, now let's render the view. Response.text, options, and chart type. Okay, getting worried, making some mistake that I don't know. Okay, let's try visualize my expenses for past 2 months. There you go, by default using pie chart. So this is the visualization using pie chart. Now let's try the voice, and here you go. Visualize my expenses for last 6 months using bar chart.
Sure, here's the visualization of your expenses for each category.
Wow, this is amazing. And that's it. Finally, we have implemented all the functions. Create, add expense log, list expenses, and visualize expenses using ChatGPT 4.0 model. Okay, it's amazing. The function calling feature is amazing. We can basically provide any custom implementation, call our app logic using large language model. Okay, it's able to infer the parameter very accurately. Okay, so that's it. Congratulations if you have followed the code along and complete the project, and hope you learn a lot from this tutorial, because I also learned a lot of things when implemented this. Learn about the function callings and all the things related to the FA foundation and everything. Also I also create this ChatGPT library as well, right? And if you're getting stuck, check the completed project repo. The link is at the description below. Okay. And that's it. Like the video if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for supporting me so far. Okay. And by the time I release this video, it should be around 10 June, the day of WWDC 24. So I hope all of you have a good WWDC ahead. Okay. And that's it. See you on the next video. Goodbye.